Hello, and welcome to Bigfoot at Bedtime. The stories shared here are loosely based on real life encounters with Bigfoot. However, some of the details and circumstances have been slightly modified so that these encounters are more in a short story form. Ideally, one can listen to right before bed to help you relax and unwind, and maybe even drift into a peaceful night's sleep. If you have an encounter with Bigfoot that you don't mind being transformed into a mystical short story, you can email it to me at ca.bigfootstories@gmail.com. Again, that's ca.bigfootstories@gmail.com. Okay, so tonight's story is going to take us to the eastern Sierra Nevadas. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. In the deep whispering forest of the eastern Sierra Nevadas, a young hiker named Leo was winding down his day after a long trek. As the sun dipped behind the jagged peaks, he found a spot under a tall pine tree and set up his campsite, ready to settle in for a quiet night in the wilderness. As he lay down, Leo heard an odd, distant rustle in the trees, louder than a breeze, heavier than a deer's steps. His heart skipped a beat. He told himself it was only his imagination stirred up by the shadows cast by the rising moon. But the noises grew closer, and suddenly he could make out slow, heavy footsteps crunching through the dry pine needles. Leo sat up, peeking out of his tent. There among the trees, he caught sight of a dark, towering figure, far larger than any man, watching him from a distance. The figure was covered in fur, blending in with bark and shadows, yet there was no mistake its piercing eyes. Frozen in place, Leo tried to stay calm, remembering stories of Bigfoot from his childhood, the legendary forest guardian. Slowly, he reached for his flashlight and pointed it toward the figure. The creature didn't run. Instead, it took a step forward, tilting its head as if curious. Then, to Leo's surprise, it raised a massive hand and placed it against a tree, leaving a handprint in the dirt as if to say, "I see you. I know you're here." The creature turned and faded into the darkness, leaving only the faint sounds of its footsteps and the outline of its mark on the tree. The next morning, Leo picked up his belongings, glancing back at the tree with the massive handprint. Although he was shaken, he felt oddly honored, as if he'd been entrusted with the secret of the forest. As he hiked down the mountain, he couldn't shake the feeling that Bigfoot was always watching, protecting the Sierra from afar. A year passed since Leo's eerie encounter in the eastern Sierra Nevadas. Despite the fear that gripped him that night, he couldn't forget the strange connection he felt with the elusive creature. Curiosity pulled at him like a tide, and one crisp autumn morning, he found himself hiking the same trail, carrying a small journal and a bag of apples, a gift in case he met Bigfoot again. The forest felt alive, whispering secrets in the rustling leaves and the murmurs of the wind. As Leo approached the spot where he had seen the massive handprint, he froze. The tree still bore the faint mark, weathered by time but unmistakable. He knelt by the base of the tree, placed the apples there, and whispered, "I'm back." For hours he lingered, wandering the area, his heart beating with equal parts excitement and unease. The forest was quieter than usual, almost as if it were holding its breath. Then, as dusk approached, he heard it, a slow, resonant sound, like a deep rumble, echoing through the trees. His heart raced. From the shadows emerged the same towering figure, its eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. This time, Leo stood his ground, his hands trembling but open at his sides. The creature stepped closer, its movements slow and deliberate. It stopped several feet away, towering over him, and gestured toward the apples with a low guttural sound. Leo nodded, swallowing hard, and the creature crouched down, picking up an apple with its enormous hand. It sniffed the fruit, then bit into it with a crunch that echoed in the stillness. For a brief moment, they simply stared at each other, man and legend, separated by worlds yet standing together in a shared moment. Bigfoot rumbled again, its voice strange blend of growl and hum, and then it rose to its full height, turned and disappeared into the forest without a sound. That night, as Leo hiked back under the starlit sky, he felt a deep sense of wonder. He knew he would return again, not to chase a legend, but to nurture a bond with the guardian of the Sierra, the spirit of the wild. All right, that does it for tonight's story. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a story that you would like to share with me, please email it to me at cabigfootstories@gmail.com. And you know what? I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.